You just keep getting better every week.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay. Are we good? I think we're good. Okay, let's make sure here. If you're seeing me, give me a thumbs up. All right, yep, I think we are live. Okay, there we are. Okay, happy Wine Wednesday, everybody. Hope you're having a fabulous week. Great seahorses, great tanks. Hope everything is great with you. And we have an extra special guest today. Miss Heather is going to talk to us about and then show us her sea shed. But then, if you have any other questions, of course, about the shed or about anything seahorse or tank related, ask it in the comments because we will have time to chat afterwards. But at first, I just wanted to welcome Heather. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello. Yep, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, and I'm going to try to make her big real quick. Maybe. Hang on. Let's see. Trying to make her big. Okay. I'll get it, guys. Don't worry. You know how it is. Okay. And all right. Well, again, happy Wine Wednesday. We're waiting for the technical stuff. Fun times. Yay, rah. Heather, while we're waiting, because I'm trying to make it big so you can really show us, but while we're waiting, what made you even decide to make the sea shed? Oh, I don't think she heard me.
Uh-oh.
No, can you hear me now?
I can now, yep.
Okay, sorry. And again,
No, that's okay.
if it freezes up, I'll jump right back in. Don't worry about it. But
Okay.
while I'm trying to make you big, I was hoping you could tell me what made you decide to make the seahorse shed and what is it?
Oh, well, it wasn't my idea. My seahorses, they kept having babies, and I was doing the raising them and the hatcheries, and it started taking over my house. You know, it's a 4-bedroom rancher, but they got 3 kids here, and it's just aren't even seahorse tanks, and they just started taking over. So my fiance, he said, "Well, why don't you put them all out in the shed?" And I was really offended at first. I was like, "You're gonna stick me and my sweet seahorses out in the shed, you know?" And I was like, I pay half the bills here. Really, you're gonna kick us out?" And yeah, he's like, "I tell you what," he said, "I'm gonna make it more like a house than like a shed. Trust me."
I love it.
Yeah, and I was like, "Well."
Oh, come back.
But I need cool temps for seahorses. What about air conditioning? I need central air and heat. Yep, we can do it. And I said, well, I need house insulation. Yep, we can do it. I said, well, how about a bathroom? He's like, well, I don't know if we can do that.
Now you're pushing it, right? But
yeah.
So when you guys were talking this through, and I mean you're very fortunate to have a significant other that will do all that work for you. But so you had to insulate the entire thing first of all. How difficult was that?
Yeah. Well, we used all house insulation. Yeah, it ended up being an expensive project. Thank God I didn't have to pay for contractors. I mean, I paid for all the material and stuff myself and everything to go in it, but yeah, it ended up it was a costly project, but really we saved a ton on the labor, and that took a lot of the insulating, because it's full house insulation here.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's all we put drywall, and we got that painted. We did trim. We did that. I don't know if you can see we got the rafters here. We put in like lighting, and yes, so
okay.
How's your heating and cooling system working?
What's that?
Your heating and cooling system, your ductless?
Oh, yes. Yeah, do you want me to show that?
Hang on just a second. Hang on. Wait. Okay. Hang on just a second. You know what? I am going to jump out and jump back in because it's freezing up and I can't make you big. I'm so sorry. This Zoom just keeps giving us trouble. So, yeah, so I'm just going to, well, let me try one more time. It keeps freezing and then unfreezing, and I don't know whether I should just try to jump in or just try to go for it. I'm trying to decide.
You're frozen right now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
so
you're
frozen, but she looks fine.
I
I
know.
hear her fine and I see her fine. I just can't see you. I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, I am. You guys stay right there. I'm going to try to jump in and jump out. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Sorry. Sorry, everybody. We got to find something other than Zoom. I swear. Just not working for us. But all right. Now let's see if I can get them back while we're live. Yay me. And hey, Poisonon's Kitchen Aquaculture. Hey, Wilson. Wilson. Totally offended that he made you a sea shed, right? Okay, let me try to get them back so we can get this tour going on. Dang it. Sorry, guys. All right. And how are all of you while I'm getting this up? Did you guys get to see the picture of the seahorse shed and on tongue-tied on Heather's page? It's really cool, so I can't wait to see it. But let me get in there real quick. All right. I know you guys love watching me do the technical stuff. It's so fun. But usually when I jump back in, it usually does work better. So let's, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. All right. Join.
Back.
Let's get me out of here. Hide self view. Come on, work, baby, work. Work, work, work. All right. And make Miss Heather big. See, there we go. Just takes a little finessing. All right. Okay, now, what were you going to show us? You're first going to show us what? You were saying something to Cheryl about.
I don't know how to turn it so it's not behind me, but Cheryl wanted my my air conditioner unit, my heating cooling
Gotcha. Wow.
system.
Yep.
And I have it set to 73, but this is 12,000 BTU, so it's like a bit excessive. And so it's actually 67 in here right now. And I have I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Can you see it? Yeah. And so this is how I control it. I can use dehumidifier, and it has heat and any temperature. When it was like 95 degrees last week, I had it down in the shed to 58. So
Wow.
That's
yeah,
great.
and at 73, my tanks are all 68.4 right now.
What's your
Nice.
outside temperature right now? Where you are?
Right now it's not too bad. I'm gonna say 75.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not bad at all. But even when it's really like hot out, like this gets real cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Is it super expensive though to keep it cool? Or
Well, I didn't get the electric bill yet.
Yeah, they probably don't know yet. First month.
I'll have to let you know.
Yeah. Okay, and so what was the first tank you put up? Or actually, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So you got the temperature control going on, and then you got the awesome lazy boy chair, right? And we asked her before we started. She said she goes out there and she has a lock on the door, so her and the dogs go in the sea shed and lock everybody else out. I love it. But so I guess we can jump into it. So what was the first tank setup, and how difficult was it to get everything, going in there?
Oh, let's see. Well, my first one I moved out was my teenager tank. That was a 45 gallon.
Mm-hmm.
But actually they've since moved to a 55, and I didn't like that. And I found a 75 drilled for a good price. So they actually just went in there tonight.
Nice.
So they were in a 45. So in the last 2 weeks, they've been from, I don't know if you can see them.
Yes.
They've been from a 45 to a 55 and now a 75.
Oh my God. And how many are there in there right now?
These are the ones I raised. I had 8 survivors.
Nice.
So I kept them all. Yeah.
And
I kept them all.
sorry. And underneath the hood, what kind of machinery you got going on down there?
Oh, well, it's kind of ghetto because I did it myself. But I only have a little, right now, only a little sump with some rock. It is drilled, and I got a skimmer in there.
Nice.
That's gonna be upgraded. It's only a 20. gallon. I like to get bigger. And then I have a canister. I like extra filtration.
Yeah.
Yeah. But actually, I just found out. I was really excited tonight. My fiance, the one that did all this for me, he's a mechanic and he did some car repairs for someone in exchange for a 150-gallon tank.
Oh.
And he surprised me. Tomorrow we're going to get it. So I guess the my adult tank here is a 90. It's a cube. It doesn't look like it, but it is a 90. And it's drilled, but that's gonna be a 150.
Nice.
So that was a nice surprise. So yeah,
And
he's getting brownie points.
Yeah, heck yeah. What's the little? Is it a little tank beside you, or is that a water cooler? Or what's right next to you?
Oh, that's just a beta tank.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was like, it looks like a tank.
That's Jeffrey, the beta fish.
Hi,
Those are
Jeffrey.
cool too.
Yep.
He's a little easier.
And tell us about, is that artwork up above you and like on the other side, or what?
Oh, yep. Yeah, it's not artwork I did. You know, I'm not that artistic, but yeah, I bought it, and then I have my little TV. I got Wi-Fi and Roku out here.
Love it.
My little clock, so I can keep an eye on the time. This is my sink area. Actually, I have a whole a household size electrical panel behind here hidden.
Okay.
But I guess it's not hiding if I told you that.
What?
But that's I have my roadie, so I get my roadie
Yep.
water going. But I do need to set up a booster here because it's really slow. The pressure out here is bad. So I got a booster. I just don't know how to set it up yet. I got to look at it. Yep. And then I got a fridge. I got my wine in there. Some brine eggs, some water. Oh, and of course all their mice is shrimp or food. And a couple freezy pops for me if I want one.
Nice.
Love it.
Yeah. So it's nice, you know, if there's things, I don't know, snacks, whatever I don't want the kids to eat, I'll bring them out here and lock them up. So
Very cool.
And how big is it again? I'm sorry.
it's 10 foot by 16 foot.
Okay.
Yeah. And we got it was done on the outside. I know you showed a picture of it. The outside was really super cute. It was bare bones on the inside, and so yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
pictures.
Cool. Love it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The pictures on your page showing like as you put up the I can't think of the word now. Now I want to say barriers. It's not barriers. The what's it called, you guys, when you put wood so that things don't fall, and you know when you put up pictures of the construction of it, it was so cool. Studs or what, I can't think. Anyways, but that's a lot of work.
Very cool.
Yeah, and we started, I guess, in April. Yeah. And when I've changed things as we've gone. I started out, I bought a futon for here, but then more people started coming out. And I'm thinking, no, I need one chair, one seat. Because, you know, now kids are like, oh, we're going to get a couch in here. And I'm like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is the Heather hangout, not.
Well, and it's literally.
I have a question for you, Heather, if you don't mind. You've got a lot of water weight in there. Did you guys have to do any reinforcement on the building? And if so, what did you do?
Yeah, actually, my fiance, he works for Dr. Pepper Keurig Company. He's a mechanic there, and they have they give their supplies that they get in. It's a lot of things in like these massive crates. So they have all these really thick 1-inch thick plywood.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
and so he can bring it home. We got the floor, and then the joists are only like 3 feet apart, maybe less.
You have you added like extra joists.
Oh yeah, extra joists. Yeah, and real thick subfloor. I mean, it's so water weight. I trust this more than I do my house.
Mm-hmm.
Good
So,
thinking. Yeah,
yeah.
because even my house, my husband's a carpenter, and when I
Mhm.
was doing my grow out tank, he's like, I better get under the house and
Yeah.
make sure it can support the weight. Yeah,
Yeah.
good thing.
That's an excellent question, Holly. I'm so glad you brought it up because when I was putting up tanks myself, I had my father actually, because my significant other is not handy, but I had my father get under, get into the basement and figure out what we were doing, what we could do, and we found out that our, I lost the word. You just said
Mhm.
it. What are they called? Under the
Joyce?
joints,
Yeah,
yeah.
George.
Yeah, they were really far apart and not good, and we had to like position the tank in a certain way. So really good question. Um, and this the shed actually, I think I have a picture. You guys drove it up, right? It's like a modular home kind of deal.
Yeah, it's actually, well, it's Amish made. I live in Pennsylvania. We're out by Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and it's a large Amish population, in the state. And so it's actually Amish made, which they're known for making really good quality. And it was
Yeah.
actually an Amish guy or Mennonite guy. And he brought it up on a truck. Yeah, and it was made. It was about 2.5 hours away. I was surprised it was $250 delivery fee, which really
Mhm.
wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
No,
Yeah.
But
everybody in the
yeah,
everybody in the comments is like, "Oh my gosh, I wish I could do that." I feel the same way, you guys. I wish I could do that
Gorgeous.
because I mean, not only to make it to where your house isn't covered in fish tanks and like a lot of times
yeah,
when you get to talking about breeding seahorses or rearing seahorses, those tanks aren't, usually pretty. They're
Mhm.
more, get it done, quality. We
yeah.
want to keep it clean. So first of all, Heather, your tanks are gorgeous looking.
Oh,
So
well, thank you,
that's
thank you.
awesome. And so what's next? Are you gonna if you choose to breed anymore, are you going to like do you have fry tubs still in the house or not tubs, tanks still in the house, or are you gonna set any up, or are you gonna try to chill for a
Yeah,
while?
I have a lot of fish stuff still in the house. Actually, I still have a 125-gallon
Oh,
non-seahorse tank in the house. So that was part of it. Just my seahorses are coming out here. I still have other fish and other fish products in the house. So I mean, yeah, it was really starting to take over the whole house. So this is about half the stuff came out here to my shed.
sure. And
But
and sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, all I was gonna say is that's super cool, especially too, like if you do decide to go gung ho with breeding seahorses, the cross contamination, you're not gonna have it because your reef is in your house. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. No, I mean, I might, but right now, I don't have the babies right now, and it's a nice break. My last batch, they're teenagers now, and I'm starting to be able to sex them now. So at some point, if I don't want to do the breeding, I'm gonna have to start dividing up folks around here. But
Right,
Don't worry, the females will grow a pouch in the absence of males.
it's
right.
just like that, yeah, yeah.
I have a pretty good feeling that she's going to end up with more fry whether she wants it or not. But in the
Probably.
meantime, I just think it's so awesome because now you have this area. It's like an adult clubhouse. I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
And the tanks look gorgeous. And you're right, as they do get bigger and bigger. I mean, you're already upgrading to it. You said 150. Is that it?
Well, right now it's a 75 and a 90, and then it's gonna be the 75 and 150. I
Yeah.
don't really like my 90. I don't like that tank. I mean, it works, but it's too deep. I can't, and when I do have shy seahorses, they're like way back there, and so like, yeah, I have to dip my head in the tank to get back to them,
Yeah.
basically.
I sold my 90 for that reason
Yeah,
years
I have
ago.
a.
It was
Sorry.
a pain. It was just
yeah,
too big of a pain to keep up, to try to clean.
My
yeah.
65 cube is the same way. I
Really?
can't reach the bottom. It's, even on a
Mm.
stool, I'm like about to fall in the tank. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So I get it. So do you know the dimensions of the 150 or are you not sure?
I don't know yet. I'm supposed to go
Oh,
get
it's
it
a
tomorrow.
surprise. That's right. forgot.
Yeah. He
Surprise.
just said, by the way, you're getting a new 150. I just did some car work for you to get it. I'm like, oh, sweet.
I'm
So,
liking this guy. Boy.
I know. I'm waiting for the ball to drop. I'm not sure what. He's nice, but he's not usually this nice.
I don't believe that. But real quick,
Yes,
just
he's getting his house back.
Well,
He'll
I'm
get that.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. It gets a little break from me. So.
is he obviously he's not obviously the Seahorses is your thing, but does he is he into the reef too, or is that just all you two?
No. He's a car guy. He builds the old, like high end sports cars, like Novas, and turns them into race cars. And he's out in his garage. He's got a garage, his playhouse basically. And so I think he loves out in the garage, just working on his cars. And I think he, can appreciate that I have a little spot for my hobby like he does his. So.
Very
Sounds
fair.
like my husband.
Yeah.
He works on Volkswagens. That's his thing. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So.
real quick, before we just start chatting about whatever you want, couple last questions. So with the RODI, you're just making batches of water as you need it, like you don't have the vats and all that craziness, right?
I don't have a what?
Like the vats that hold the water and hold the salt water, or hold the RODI and then hold the salt or whatever. You don't have that kind of craziness, do you?
No. Well, to be honest, I only just now, since I moved out to the shed, started with my roadie.
Oh,
These
okay.
guys have been tap water tanks for 2 years now.
Wow.
Everybody, yeah. And I mean, most people with tap water tanks, they kind of think they look grungy, but I keep mine pretty spotless. And it's,
Are you on a municipal water source?
No, this is a well here.
That's why you
Yeah.
get away with it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a well. So like literally before I was just filling it up. And honestly, that's what's in these tanks right now. I have my roadie, but the pressure by the time it comes out here to the shed, it's like 25 or something ridiculous.
Right.
And so with the well, we've had it run dry before when we're filling up the swimming pool. And it just, so I have my booster. So, yeah. But really, honestly, I've not had a problem yet with tap water. And that's been about 2 years.
So just out of curiosity, that's fascinating to me, and that's great because your tanks are always looking beautiful and spotless. So, what's your water change schedule? I know obviously you do the skimmer and all that good stuff to try to help, but do you wipe down when you do your water changes?
Do I wipe it down?
Like,
Oh.
Actually, I didn't look closely. Do you have sand in the tanks or not?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You want to say,
Yeah.
This is the baby. Well, they're not babies anymore. They're still my babies, but that's the teenager tank. And you got one coming here to see you.
Hello.
That's
We're
Peanut.
starving.
I know. I do have some food for them. But yeah.
What's the wait real quick? What's the circle things at the top? Or am I seeing things?
Oh, these. Oh, they're chains. They're actually acrylic shower curtain rings. They love hanging off of them.
I love it. And you keep it at towards the top, and they hang down, right?
Oh, well, yeah, or they don't have to hang down, but they can, yeah. Well, I guess I didn't leave much room up there.
No, I am. When I had Codium floating in my tank, the Seahorses would flock to it. They wanted to be up there, so.
Oh, yeah, they're always high up. That's why I put all this, like, branches up here. And I was amazed, all this extra unused space up here. They use it a lot. They really do.
And what's the flow in the tank? And I'm sorry to ask you 50 million questions, but like, what's the pump and what's the flow? Because the reason I'm asking is because I'm having so much trouble with flow in my small tank. So, but.
Oh, well, I turned it down only because I wasn't sure. There's like a echo when I wasn't sure it was videoing if all the water sounds. So I turned off like a lot of it. But I still have, as far as the amount, how much turnover, I don't know, to be honest. I never measured it. I know
all good.
if Yeah, if the food falls on the ground and stays in the spot, it's not enough. I know that. So, yeah, and if they're doing somersaults, then it's probably too much.
And last question about that. I hear Cheryl trying to ask a question too, but and I'm asking for my own selfish reasons. Sorry, guys. I'll let her get to the next tank in just a second. But with the food not hitting to the floor, do you have any trouble with it with them not getting enough and it ending up in the sock or whatever kind of filtration you have, or is the flow just perfect for you where they're getting it and it's not hitting the floor, but it's not being sucked down to the return?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it, I do have a really good cleanup crew.
Okay.
Now, sometimes, like with the baby tank, when they're a little younger, they're not as quick. And I also have a couple guys in here that are real lazy. And I'm worried that they're lazy enough they might actually lose weight if I don't slow things down for them. Because if the food goes right by their head, they're like, yeah, I'll catch it next feeder. I got a couple ones that are real lazy in there. Yeah. Like this
but
one.
you just, I mean, do you have I can't like feed mode or anything, or do you just kind of watch and adjust as you see fit?
Yeah, I just kind of adjust and watch. Or
Gotcha.
like my 90 gallon, I have a canister, I have the return pump, I have a hang on the back filter, I have a hang on the back skimmer, and I have an in sump skimmer, and I also have a UV filter with a power head on it.
Holy moly!
So all I got to do is unplug one or two of those things,
right?
And then they can catch what they need to catch. And then when they're done eating, and when I see them not picking anymore, I'll plug it back in, and it stirs it up, and then they're all eating again.
Yep.
So.
Well, see, with you doing that much filtration on a bigger tank, I again thinking about my own. I tried to do an all-in-one, and it's just been a pain. Not saying you can't do an all-in-one. We're still experimenting, guys. But so far, I've missed the big tank where you have all the filtration, and I'm thinking about adding some things like canisters and such. But anyways, move on to your next tank. Let's see. We want to see some seahorses. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Not me talking.
I have two in here right now.
I know.
Okay. All right. This is here. Let me get, maybe if I feed, some of them will come out. It's hard to tell, but I actually have 11 seahorses in this tank.
Wow.
You wouldn't know it.
I am absolutely loving the shower curtain rings idea. Oh, I'm gonna steal that. Can't get over it.
Well, see, these guys, they were begging earlier, and I ate them a little bit ago, or I fed them a little bit ago.
So they're like, whatever, you're not tricking us.
Yeah. Yeah. Give them an hour or so.
Yep.
But these guys, yeah.
Look at him on the ring. Aw.
They seem to like them better than they like that, like the regular chains. They perch on them like little birds.
Well, that makes sense, and I'm wondering about
bigger.
Yeah, Holly, I was going to ask you because we've had the experiences where seahorses get stuck, or in certain spaces. Those big old rings are perfect.
Real small, like when they're a few weeks old, a couple months old or something, and they're like getting a little bit bigger than a chain link or two. They're used to being able to go through them, and then all of a sudden they can't anymore, and they'll try and figure it out and get stuck.
There he goes. He got it. What's on is everything in the tanks plastic, or is that Gorgonian real? And what's on the back wall?
Oh, well, yeah, it's all plastic in this one. I do have a little bit of macro in there. The Gorgonian, that's a fake one too.
Okay.
Yeah, you're talking about the purple thing back here?
Yeah, I just wondered.
Yeah, that's from that oceanaquaria.com.
Oh yeah, right. Like
it's like polyurethane. They made it. Yeah.
And on the back, is that stuff just strung out, or do you have like one of those magnets on the back? It just looks like a shelf. That's why I was asking.
Oh,
like the green foliage. I'm saying it wrong.
Oh no, that is actually just a plant. I have a piece of it suction cups and zip tied to the back. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, right up under there. And so they like hitching near the return, so they'll hitch on that and stick their head right in it and get, like power blasted.
Yep. We talk all the time about them flow
Seahorse
dancing.
launch. Yep.
And how are you connecting the curtains? I keep saying curtains, the curtain rods.
Oh, the rings. Oh,
Yeah.
I just connect them like make a chain out of them, open it, and connect it to each other.
And then is it
Like a
suction
chain.
cupped?
Yep. Suction
Okay.
cups. Yeah. I get the suction cups. You can get 20 of them for like $4 on Amazon, and they have holes already, and they come with zip ties. So you just zip tie it and just. I live off those things. They're everywhere in my tank. I suction cup everything.
I'm stealing the idea because this is great.
Well, those rings are so much safer for seahorses than the chains, because even as they get bigger, they'll be able to fit through and they won't get stuck. And I've seen numerous seahorses get stuck in those chains.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you just helped us all. And so, just out of curiosity, so let's drill you a little bit about cleaning. When you're cleaning, do you have to pull? Actually, let me back up. What lighting is on the tank on either or do you have any?
No, I have lighting on the tank. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm kind of cheap, so it's nothing fancy. I think a Higger light.
Gotcha.
I don't have like it's nothing fancy. It's basically like freshwater lights. It's just enough to keep my macro alive, my calorbra. So that's easy to keep alive. So.
No, I think you're smart for that. I do the same thing. It's like, why would you even want to get some expensive light? A seahorse tank could be easily kept in just a room with overhead light, so.
Yep.
So I love it. And have you had any problems with algae though, with using a freshwater light? Or
I haven't. No, and especially considering it's tap water, I would have thought more. But I do have. I kind of got since I use new sand. I don't know if you see it. I got some diatoms. I hit the ugly stage. If you can see it, but I have a little bit of brown diatoms from moving over the tank and. Because it's all new sand in there. I don't like reusing sand for an upgrade.
So how long was the tank set up before you moved it?
Well, at least a year. Yeah, and that was upgrade from a 55 and then a 75.
Right,
and then into the 90s.
And then when you moved it out to the sea shed, you just the only thing different is you added new sand.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Yep. I'm dying to know this because I think it's so great that you're, this is a tap water tank, tap water, we want to make clear, but it's beautiful. I mean, and you've had no really bad luck with it. So what's your water change schedule? How often do you clean them?
Well, I do a 25-gallon, one of these big fruit tubs, one of these. I got to roll on a little wheel. And I do one of those usually about once a week.
Gotcha.
On each tank. Yep. And now that's my seahorse tank. And I have a cowfish tank and a puffer tank in my house. They're slobs. They're messy fish. So theirs aren't quite kept as clean. They can handle a little more grunge than the seahorses can. So.
Sure.
But yeah, with the seahorses, it's about 25 gallons a week I do.
And you said a cowfish and what?
A puffer.
Oh my gosh.
Tank. Yeah, they're cool too. Yeah.
You've got all the cool fish.
Yep.
Dang.
Yep, I never got into the coral thing, but yeah, I like the cool stuff.
Oh, so your saltwater tank inside is the puffer and that.
Yeah.
It's more
that's
fish.
my
Okay.
Yeah.
Still cool. You're lucky. If you would have told me earlier, I'd be like, you better figure out how to run to the house and show us. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But I know I keep jumping. If Holly and Cheryl have any questions, the only other thing that I really wanted to ask is if you could, is it still cool outside? Are you still good outside? I wanted to show the seahorses on the door because I think they're so cool.
Oh, on the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me check. Hey, there's a bunch of kids out there.
Oh, well, if we can't, we can't. It's not a big deal. Even the ceiling's cool. This is just so cool.
Yeah, if it's okay, now's not a good time. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, go look at the
Party out there.
picture. Go look at the
Okay.
pictures, guys. She has pictures up.
That's why you have to lock on the door, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what's next for you? What's your next plan? Aside, obviously the upgrade to the 150 is going to be a big deal, and then are you just gonna slowly
Yep.
separate and stuff, or?
Yeah, I don't know. John thinks I should keep the 90 and just move the 90 over there, because I do have like, well, this is kind of my junk pile right here. There's not a whole lot going on there, just a bunch of miscellaneous fish stuff and my trash cans. So he thinks I should move the 90 over there and put the 150 here, but I think that might kind of take up a lot of space. I don't know. We'll see. But I do have one male that I think is pregnant. So yeah, and he's usually pretty regular.
Gotcha.
So I have a feeling, yeah. And if I don't do some separating soon, then I'll be raising more fry here and bring out my tubs and that kind of thing.
Yeah, you might have to turn that section into a fry raising station.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm kind of. Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to be used for, you got the hatcheries and all that. So
Yeah.
Do what Holly did. Get a tub.
I know. Well, Cheryl, I was going to pay you to build me one and then mail it to me.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
I finally, my new tubs finally arrived, so I'm going to finalize how to completely build one of those.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she's actually gonna.
On Saturday, so I'll be ready.
Yeah, I've already got a bunch of photos.
Yep, and she's gonna do an article about it, and it's gonna be great. I can't wait for that too. I've built them,
cool.
but still, it's I did a lot of things like I didn't use some perfect tool to make perfect circles. I'm like, figuring it out. But anyway,
That sounds like my style.
Yeah,
What's
if it
funny
works,
is
it works.
My very first tub, because I had a friend, well, Ray Ford.
Yeah.
He was raising reed-eye in circular, basically bottles. And so I decided, well, I was working with my combs, so I was going to try something circular. So I got a 5-gallon water bottle, drilled it from the bottom, put it inside another tank, so it flushed from the bottom. That was my first success actually raising combs, was in that crazy water bottle system.
Makes a difference for
That's very
sure.
cool.
But yeah, well, we're looking forward to the article. Okay, I've got 2 last questions for you, and then it's going to be open chat. Sorry, I keep drilling you, I know. But tell me tell me a little bit more about the electricity, because I know you said you've got the electrical unit hidden behind your sink station, but what's that entail? Like, was it a huge job?
Well, it's like it's like a big house panel.
Okay.
I want to say 100 amps. Yeah, I'm not real. He's the electrician.
Right.
Yeah. So it's basically enough to run a house.
Wow.
Is it
And
a
then
battery?
What's that?
Is it a battery?
No, it's actually like we've got it run underground from the house,
Okay.
from in the basement, our panel in the basement
Dang.
to here. Yeah,
He
and we got
does know what he's doing, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's all underground, and he ran that, and then the heating and cooling unit, that is 220 electric, and so that required a different type of electric, which you know how to put that in. And then we didn't even need an HVAC, so that saved me like $1,200 that he installed that too for me. Wow. Yeah. So, but so I know it has a 110, and then the 220 volt for that. And I tell you what, I used to blow fuses in my house all the time.
Right.
I mean, all the time, because he put I have 4 gang outlets on here, so I don't mind my cord mess. But he puts all these outlets in here for me.
Wow.
And so, yeah, like I have more outlets in this shed than I have in half of the house.
I'm the same way in my back room. I did exactly the same.
Yep, yep.
I need an electrician. If there's any electricians out there, I don't care if you're male, female, I don't care. I need an
Yeah,
electrician. Because, man, I'm jealous of those plugins. My goodness.
I
Wow.
know, it's cool. Yeah. But it's funny
Gosh.
though, usually electricians, like in the house, I still have a couple of them that are ungrounded outlets. Like that's how old. So usually electricians aren't real good about maintaining the electric in the house.
Mm.
That's usually how. But luckily he was great to set this up, and that was his idea. I didn't know it was possible, but I guess he made it. You know, I haven't had any kind of outage, and I guess because it has my own electrical box,
That,
I
yeah,
guess
exactly. Yeah,
I got a lot going on.
yeah, but I mean, that's so cool because I honestly didn't know it was possible either. I know you can plug another, like, I'm so bad with these words, you guys, but the strips in and then have more
Hmm.
plugins. But in the wall, I've just never seen that. It's very
Yeah,
unique.
yeah.
Um, and I thought of one more question before my final, and then I'll hush up. But with the it being a just a smaller space, obviously you're controlling the temp so well that it shouldn't be a problem. But you said you're able to like run the humidity or what humidifier or whatever. Have you had any
Mhm.
problems with that so far, or has it just stayed cool?
Um, it's I've had it. It does kind of build up humidity in here. I think part of it too is I have a lot of when I have all my filter stuff going, there's a lot of surface agitation, and then I'm topless. You know, I don't leave tops on my tank, so I think just a lot of evaporation because I'm always topping off these tanks with
Yep.
fresh water. And so yeah, it does get humid in here, but it's weird. It's like a cool humid.
Gotcha.
So it's actually, well, right now the humidity monitor in here is 65. So I don't know, that's pretty humid, I think, right?
Yeah,
I don't know,
one of the
Cheryl,
things
is that humid?
one thing you'll probably find is in the wintertime, because
Mhm.
you're keeping your tanks warmer than
Yeah.
basically the outside air, you're going to see a lot more humidity in the room. That's what I see when it gets
Mm.
cold out than during the summer months.
Yeah.
And that's where I run my dehumidifiers, is in the winter months. Just,
Oh, okay.
just an FYI.
But
Okay. I haven't put it on that yet, but I mean, it's
You get your chance.
okay.
Well, my curiosity was you showed us the controller. I
Mm-hmm.
literally am asking because I know nothing about it. And if you don't, if he just did it, then it's cool. But
Mhm.
like I don't. I'm trying to understand how this system can become a dehumidifier. Like I'm really stupid
Oh,
about this stuff.
well, I can show you. Actually, when he installed it, there was an issue with the drains. So he actually he's a welder too. So he welds metal. So he actually
Lucky
built,
girl.
yeah, he actually built this. It's actually a drain, and it
Oh
comes down here. I don't know if you can see it.
yeah.
Actually, there's a little bit of condensate there, and he built that little trough for it to drain, and it drains
Gosh.
outside of there. So really, if I want, I can turn on the humidifier, which really, I mean, I don't really mess with that because I mean, it's still, even if it's 64% humidity, it's still 68 in here. So as long as the temp's good, I don't really care about that. But if I wanted to, it would suck it out of and then drain it through there, through
That
that
is
little
so
tap.
cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. And
Yeah.
I know I keep saying last question, but I thought of one more. So with top off, because I'm
You never
actually,
stop.
I know, I can't help it. By the way,
In mine.
Erica Lakin said, Heather, you're so lucky to have your John spoil you. I'm so glad to have the
No.
opportunity to listen to you talk. Have Seahorse Whisperer needs to have her on again. And I was gonna say that too. If you ever do, which we all know you will, end up having more babies, we want to bring you on and show your hatcheries, your setup for the babies, all of it. We want to have you on anytime. And
Okay.
Chris, I was gonna say to Chris, hi, and yeah, absolutely. If you want to jump in here in a second when we're done with the tour, you can. And let's see, anything else? I know, Salty, I would totally use you to set up the electricity, but something like that, that's exceptional. So yeah, sorry, back to the point. I know I keep going on and on. Last two questions. I won't ask more than two.
Okay.
Number one is with the top off, How often are you said you have to top off all the time? How often is in under? I understand what you're saying with so much surface agitation, no top. You know, you're gonna have
Yeah.
that. Have you had to top? What's your top off schedule, and has it caused any damage, like to things surrounding the tank, like salt creep kind of stuff?
Oh, well, no, not yet, but
Good.
it probably will. Um, well, usually like about a gallon a day is what I do on
Not
each
bad.
tank. Yeah, I don't have an auto top off. I'd like one, especially in the house, but I'm here doing enough with the tanks anyways that it's just easier just to top it off, you know. And I just use like a gallon pitcher and that's it, dump it in and be done with it.
Yep.
Yep.
What? I lied. One more. What
Yeah.
salinity do you keep the temps at, or the tanks at? Sorry.
Usually 1.021 or 1.022.
Yep. I'm learning. See, I always kept it at 2.3, like a reef, and I'm learning that you guys, most people do keep it much lower. And I've realized that the seahorses are much happier at a lower salinity, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, my absolute final question, and I'm going to shut up and let Cheryl and Holly talk and whoever else.
Okay.
You showed us the wine in the fridge. What brand and type is it? That is my final question. Happy Wine Wednesday.
Well, Kelly, I'm cheap, so I don't get the good stuff.
So am I.
It does the work. It does the job. Barefoot Riesling.
Love it.
Moscato. Sutter Home Moscato. I didn't work
Love
that on that one yet. None of it yet. Yeah. And yeah. Oh, and then I have a. I don't know if you can see, I have a bottle opener, Seahorse bottle opener. It's needed, but
I've seen pictures of it. That's so cool. I mean,
yeah.
the whole sea shed is decked out for seahorses. It's so cool. But
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna quit quizzing you now. I'm gonna
Okay.
make you not big unless we need to make you big because you're showing us something. I'm admitting Chris, and it's open chat time, so guys. So if you have any questions about Heather's sea shed, feel free to ask. I will read your questions now instead of mine. And otherwise, it's open game. So Cheryl, Holly, feel free.
So
Go
I
ahead,
have a question
Diane.
about draining your water. Where does your water, your sink, drain to? Are you on septic
Yeah, we have septic.
Where does your water, your sink, drain to?
Yes.
Wait,
We
wait,
have
hey,
septic.
wait. Pause. Chris, do you have YouTube open, perchance?
No, I had it on the TV. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
All right.
frozen.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'll hush now. Go ahead, Heather.
Well, no, we had septic, and I had problems with. We used to have the septic. We had to have it pumped maybe like once every 6 years. And when I started saltwater, I've only been in saltwater for about 2 years now.
Uh-huh.
When I started saltwater, all my water changes I was putting down the sink.
Oh,
And
I do that
that's
too.
the salt. Yeah, that was bad news because we had a clog in the septic, and something I guess about the pH and the salt water difference. It killed off all the good bacteria, so we had to get the septic pumped twice. So I can't put it down the drain. So actually, this sounds a little rednecky ghetto, but what we have is we have 2 acres here, and behind my shed is a big hill, and it goes down in the woods, which is our 2 acres. So that's where my water goes, right down there, right down the hill. But I mean, I don't use any like chemicals or anything like that. So it's either
Yeah, it's just the
you know,
salt water.
it's either salt water or fresh water going down. So, yep. So we got it down underground and goes down the hill, down into our woods.
The same thing, and I'm on a septic, and we haven't had to pump it out. I've had the tanks about 3 years. I don't have as many as you do,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I haven't had any problems yet, but I'm kind of concerned about that and like pipes and that kind of thing.
well, it
Yeah,
depends
well,
on how the septic system is set up. I put in a complete new septic system, tanks, lateral line fields, the whole 9 yards, back in 2009, and I have yet to have it pumped out again.
Yeah.
But it just depends on how much you're dumping into it and how well
Yeah.
the old septic systems used to use gravel and stuff rather than an actual lateral line field. The lateral line field actually is designed to grow grass and stuff on top of it, which
Uh-huh.
also helps remove and clear up the septic system.
Now, I don't know what ours is. When we bought the house, it had sat empty for a year. And they actually, not long after we bought the house, they had to dig up because tree roots
Yes.
had grown into the lines and were blocking stuff. So that was, I want to say, 2016. We had that fixed. You know, thankfully, at first they said we might need to put in a new septic, but it turned out to be just the tree roots, so they were able to handle it. We haven't done anything since, but I'm wondering what the salt water is doing to it, if it's going to affect anything out there.
Yeah,
It
well,
should
we
be
had to go digging.
negligible because
Ours.
remember you're getting rain into that system and all kinds of stuff. It's going to help flush it. My lateral line field is almost a half acre, but there's no trees or there's some shrubs and some grass, but there's no trees or anything growing over that area. It's clear.
Uh-huh.
And that makes a big difference as well because then you don't get tree roots in damaging your field.
Yeah. Now, we were told if we use it more, that prevents the tree roots, actually, from,
Interesting.
you know, from the house sitting and stuff not flowing
Yeah,
through it. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm going to go left field and ask a question from the comments, and then I want to welcome Chris because I didn't. I just put him in here and didn't say anything. Whoops. But Erica asked, how much prime is the max amount you should put in a seahorse tank? Can you do up to 5 times the base dose that is safe for seahorses? Do you even use prime, Heather? Or do you use any dechlorinator?
I use prime, like I've used it in emergency, it's covered my butt. Yeah. Sometimes I use it prophylactically. Prime's good. I've always heard it, well, I know on the bottom, on the bottle it says you can do up to 5 times safely in an emergency, but I've never had to use it that much.
I
Right.
use CKM Safe, which is the powdered version.
Yeah.
Same difference. But the primary times I use CKM Safe is when I test my water and I've got some ammonia in it. And then I dump bleach in, eliminate the ammonia, and then add the CKM Safe.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Dump bleach in.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
You can sterilize the water, add bleach, and then dechlorinate it.
Okay, I'm thinking in the tank. I'm sorry.
Chris is over there laughing.
I'm like, don't throw bleach in with seahorses. God help me. Okay, I get it now.
Bleached water in with the seahorses, and I test it for any chlorine before I do anything else, and then I buffer it. But it's one of those things, you can sterilize water that way using chlorine, which is why municipalities use in their, city water system.
Gotcha. No, I just misunderstood. And my answer, I guess, would be with prime, I use it a little differently. I use it as a dechlorinator too. Even though I'm using RODI, my water's so bad here that I change my filters all the darn time, you guys, like more than somebody should have to, and still the TDS is growing almost instantly. It's just
okay.
Maybe I need a new system, but what?
You're on city water?
Yes, I am, and it's terrible. I'm in Indiana. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So when I make water, even if I'm using like something with a small TDS, I will put in the recommended dose of prime to use as a dechlorinator. Like that's it, and then I have used it in emergency situations, both in a freshwater tank and in a saltwater tank, and it saved the day. And I'm personally not afraid to overuse prime. Has anybody heard of any negatives to that if you overuse it?
Well, the primary problem with using prime or any of those is one, they reduce your O2 saturations.
Oh.
Chris is sitting there going, that can be an issue. And they also, depending on what you're working with, they may or may not keep the water clear for more than 24 to 48 hours, depending on what you're going
Right.
after.
Right. No, I get that. If there's an ammonia spike or something, it's just to be used as emergency. You also have to do the backup water change or whatever to bring the ammonia down because
Well,
it turns into ammonium, but that's only for a day or two. So go ahead.
okay. Every time I run an RODI water, and I know what my TDS is, and because I got a meter on it, but I always test one for ammonia above all else in case something has gotten in there and it started to grow. And I also, when I do get any reading ammonia, I chlorinate it. Then I have to go back in, dechlorinate it, test again for any chlorine. And I use Pantera Aquatics for that. And then I go back in and then go in with the CChem Safe and then the buffer. But I'm OCD when it comes to testing my water before it goes in the tank.
Right. Chris, what's your thoughts? Welcome, Chris Carey from Australia.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on overusing Prime?
Well, it's probably a waste of money, like using too much. That's probably the biggest downside. But yeah, like Cheryl just said, you know, if you don't have enough oxygen in your tank to begin with, and especially if you're not sort of aerating or whatever, then running out of oxygen in the tank is one of the bigger downsides to using Prime like that. But yeah, no, it's good stuff, and it can definitely get you out of a pinch.
Gotcha. Salty, if you have any thoughts, I see your back. Wink, wink. Hello. Okay, and I'm trying to make sure there's no. Chris, how are you doing? What's up with you? What's new?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm.
He's got a new girlfriend.
We know.
Yeah, I've got one of those. But I'm actually. I've only just gotten back this morning. I've been on the mainland, and I've just got back to Tasmania today.
Gotcha. Well, he might have a girlfriend, but I bet he doesn't have a sea shed.
Right? No, I don't. I need to invest in one of those. It would be good.
So I guess nothing really to report since you've been doing traveling, all that good stuff, right? Nothing new on the systems?
Nothing too new, unfortunately. I left work about a week ago to go back to the mainland. It was only supposed to be a quick back and forth trip, but they announced a lockdown just as I was getting on the boat. And so by the time the boat arrived on the other side, they were in full lockdown mode. And I've only just gotten back today, but I've got a special permit to come back and everything. And it means that I'm going to have to mask up and go through all these quarantine procedures at work and stay away from the public and away from people in general. So it's going to be fun.
At least you made it back.
Yes, I'm very lucky.
That was fortunate.
Yeah,
Dang.
otherwise it could have been weeks and weeks and weeks away.
So Oz is going back into lockdown again?
Well, about half of our states are. Victoria, New South Wales and South Australia have all gone into lockdown. But I haven't really been watching the news too heavily, so maybe some of the other states might have as well. Tasmania's still good though. Tasmania hasn't been in lockdown and we haven't had any cases of COVID since the initial outbreak last year.
Taz hasn't had the problems that Oz has had by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it's been very good.
Okay, just to interrupt real quick, I gotta say, Erica asked a question, which I will ask now, but then she said, oh my God, I wrecked. I gotta go. So just a public service announcement here. I post these don't go, after we do the live stream, they're posted on Facebook and on YouTube. So please don't watch and drive. Okay, guys? No phoning, driving, wrecking kind of stuff, because now I'm worried. I hope you're okay, Erica. And let me know you're okay. And we do check comments later, so if you watch it and you're like, oh, I want to know, how did Heather do this? Or how did Chris do this? I will hunt their butts down and get your answer. Don't worry, even if we're not live. And Chris, I do want to jump back to you, but Erica did ask the question. I want to make sure the answer is public. She said, I think this is more like kind of towards Cheryl. So you sterilize your water with how much bleach before priming with how much? Sorry if so many questions. I've used up to 3 times max dose, but I believe it depleted the oxygen when my boyfriend overdosed. So I think the question is, how much bleach do you use, and then how much prime do you need to use to make the water okay again?
Well, first of all, it depends first of all on my ammonia reading
Okay.
because I test first to determine how much ammonia I've got. And I'm going to be a nerd here because basically I know my systems well enough. Depending on how much ammonia I got, I dump in a little bit or a little bit more, and then I let it sit for at least an hour, and I test it again for ammonia. Assuming I have none, then I dechlorinate. Once I dechlorinate, then I add buffer, and that's assuming I'm using fresh water. It's a little bit different when you're doing salt water.
But when you dechlorinate, you just use the recommended amount for the amount of water?
Right.
Okay. Just making sure I understood. Makes sense. The oxygen, I didn't know it depleted oxygen. I mean, I guess I did in the back of my head, but yeah, I'm gonna have to check myself on the prime.
Well, when COVID first hit, and I was again, it's been a year and a half ago now. I bought 10 gallons of Clorox bleach,
hmm
specifically to have it on hand for my tanks.
Smart.
So I also use it obviously to sterilize equipment and things like that, which is a whole different discussion. Again, it needs to be rinsed, and you can either rinse it thoroughly, let it sit in the sun, or you can go in with a dechlorinator, depending on what you're trying to clean.
Actually, I have one more question about this, and then I'm going to jump to Chris for another one. But I personally bleach my socks. I bleach my socks. I put my socks literally in the washer with bleach, and then I just dry them, and then I use them. I also pull my plastic plants and stuff because, unlike Heather, cool Heather over there, I do have algae problems on my fake stuff. And so I pull them to clean them, and I do soak them in bleach, and then I just soak them in prime, and then I figure they're good to go. Is there any kind of timing thing that I need to worry about on either of those processes?
The thing is with chlorine, basically it rapidly will turn into a gas with heat.
hmm
Therefore, if you have, like you're trying to clean live rock and you bleach it, rinse it, throw it out there in the sun, and you're not going to get any readings of chlorine in a very short time. So you don't even necessarily have to dechlorinate it, depending on how you're handling the material.
That's
It's like
how
your
I
sock.
do it. I use the bleach and then I rinse the stuff and I put it outside in the sun till it's dry.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Okay, and this could be for Chris or Heather, frankly, but I'm just curious because the other two ladies told me their opinions the last couple weeks. I'm curious, both Chris and Heather, do you use chemical filtration in your systems, meaning like carbon or Purigen or anything like that?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't use carbon. I used to use Sosgard, but I ran out of that and I didn't really notice the difference. So I don't use anything like that now. And the only thing I do is good bacteria.
And just out of curiosity, I want to hear Chris too, but Heather, what bacteria do you use? Because that's a common theme I keep hearing. I do use bacteria too. I use probiotics, but it just seems like people have figured out we need to add good bacteria. But what kind do you use?
Well, I don't add as much as you do, Kelly. But I have.
She's talking about my cloudy tank when I overdosed bacteria, you guys. Go ahead, Heather. Sorry.
Hey, add a little vodka too, and then you can really end up with a cool tank.
I use a special blend, microblift. Oh, and it's awful. Hold your nose. It's bad. Yeah, I use that. I do like cycling a tank by Spira. I'm too cheap to get the good stuff like the Fritz. Any of that. I'm not paying all that money for that. I'm too cheap for that. So. Yeah, but I do every water change. I'll add a little bit of that, and that's it. Because I have been using tap water. I do add a little bit of prime. In case of heavy metals. I do know I have some copper pipes, you know, that it comes through. So I add a little bit of prime in case, you know, because that does get rid of the heavy metals. But other than that, that's all I do.
Your DI should take care of any particulates like copper or iron or anything like that.
Okay.
Right, but remember she wasn't using it. She's just starting to use it. So I get it, Heather.
Yeah.
Because and that's a good point. I forgot about the heavy metal benefit of Prime too. Prime's awesome, I swear. But
yeah, I like cheap because it's more for your money, cheaper, but I don't believe that does the heavy metal, but the CK, which is like powdered prime. But yeah, that's what all I do is add bacteria. I don't add anything else. I don't add buffer. I don't worry about pH. None of that.
and look at she's doing fabulous. So obviously, you know, it just depends on your situation. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And I don't think you're cheap. You're literally showing off your sea shed, okay? But you spend the money where it matters. You know, you make sure that
Excellent point.
you make the electricity right. You make sure you've got things set up properly. With the bacteria, I do think that every single company stepped up their game once more people came into the mix. Like once people figured out that like Dr. Tim's and Fritz were like real and good and they started pointing out the differences, I really feel like the other companies stepped their game up. And I think they're all pretty good. But Chris, do you guys use chemical? What do you guys use? Bacteria? What?
Well, by and large, I actually get away with cheating most of the time. So most of the time, I will just normally if you're using a chemical filtration, you're trying to remove something from the water. Most of the time, I will just do hard water changes. So I'm really not scared of doing large volume water changes. I've got both heated salt water and cold salt water on tap most of the time. So if I need to do a 100% water change, if I need to do a 500% water change, that's an option for me most of the time. So I'll literally just drain the water or whatever. The only times where I've found it's quite handy to have stuff like carbon and whatnot is if I've dosed medications and whatnot in the water. And sometimes medications have like dyes and things with them, and sometimes they can actually dye the some of the substrate or some of the other things that are in the tank, which can be a little bit of a pain because you know they can alter the colorism in your decorations and whatnot. Or substrate and whatnot. In those cases, I think using the carbon in conjunction with the water change is a good way to really clear things up pretty quick.
Yeah.
But if you know you need to dose multiple doses of the medication and whatnot, I usually wait till it's all done or whatnot. But there's some instances where it's really good to use carbon and other things to remove things from the water, especially if you know you have to make up the salt water every time, and you don't have the option of doing massive water changes. So I do occasionally use carbon, but most of the time I just cheat and do water changes. It's just quicker and easier for me.
I think you hit the nail on the head, because the whole question when I was talking about this new all-in-one tank is I'm just not used to smaller tanks, and I think honestly I wasn't doing large enough water changes because Cheryl and everyone has talked about, you know, repeatedly that pouch emphysema doesn't really happen anymore. People don't really have that problem because we figured out how to use skimmers and etc. for organics, and then here it is, the Seahorse Whisperer with a freaking male with pouch emphysema. So I knew I was doing something wrong, and they were suggesting, you know, if you're going to be lazy and not do your water changes, use some chemical filtration. But I'm just upping the water changes. So that was my question. Somebody said they had a question. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask Chris a question in terms of when you're, I'm assuming you don't have to rush cycle tanks, or do you suddenly end up where you really need something yesterday, first of all? And if so, if you need it yesterday, what protocol are you using to rapidly cycle that tank?
I just want to say before he answers, y'all, she makes fun of me, but look at her asking double questions, right? Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so good question. So when I need to set up a new display, for example, or a new Seahorse tank, and I just almost need an instant display, we've actually got a pretty cheeky but a pretty clever way of doing that ASAP. So we've actually got, somewhere in our facility, we've actually got a large setup. It's kind of like a barrel, but it could be done in any real tank or setup. And it's basically full of media. And what we do is we just dose ammonia into that tank full of media. And basically all of the media in there, because it's been dosed with ammonia for so long, is always cycled. And so it is always cycled, and it's always cycled to a higher threshold than what your regular media probably is cycled to in a conventional tank setup. But it's also always sterile because
Right.
you know, we're only literally dosing ammonia in there. So a really clever way of always having cycled media on hand. And then there's a lot of media in there. So we can literally just scoop out as much media as we need, pop it into a brand new tank, and then boom, you've pretty much got a cycle tank. Now we do need to watch it for the first. I usually watch them pretty hard for the first week, and then I kind of start paying them a little bit less attention after the second week. But usually they're fine, and you know, they're basically already cycled and good to go. And I actually am a little bit baffled that a lot of aquarium stores and that don't actually do the same thing and sell cycled media rather than just selling, you know, dry media. Like, you know, if they were to just have a big thing of cycled media and actually sell the cycled media, they wouldn't have to go through so much stuff with their customers cycling tanks and whatnot. And, you know, it's good to make customers cycle their own tanks and whatnot to actually learn how the biological cycle and the nitrogen cycle works. But, you know, I think it would take a lot of the guesswork out, and it would make it a lot more accessible to the hobby for a lot of newbies.
But wouldn't you have to ship it in water for it to stay cycled?
Yes, you would.
So that'd be expensive.
But, I mean, like if no, but for your aquarium stores where you're going in and you're buying your fish
Right.
or your seahorses or whatnot, you know,
at least in the U.S., that's where you pick up tons of hitchhikers that you don't want.
Well, no, but he's saying if you completely bleached out the rock, like instead of, they have vats full of water selling live rock, but if they sold cycled rock or cycled media.
Right.
Oh, you're saying media, Chris, not rock.
Yeah.
You could use
so
like
it's cycled media.
or K1 or whatever, and just cycle it with ammonia so it doesn't have the hitchhikers or anything.
Look for that on the Seahorse Whisperer store coming soon. Just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so it's literally just cycled media. It's kind of like live rock in that it's biologically live, but there's no risk of any hitchhikers or whatever popping in.
Right.
That's something that I'm super OCD about at our facility. All the pests, things like aptasia, bristleworms, things like that are just animals that I don't want in our displays or even in our facility. And so, you know, by taking this media, and it doesn't really matter what media you use, honestly, as long as it's biologically live or whatever. And that's the best thing about, you know, like fishless cycling like this. And then whenever I do need to set up a new setup or a new tank or a new display or whatever, I can literally just take some cycled media straight out of this, put it straight in. And the only downside to it is that you need to keep it biologically active and keep dosing ammonia to it and keep testing and making sure that, you know, everything's still in check. But if you were doing all of that work for that one small little setup, and then you can instantly set up a tank overnight or set up 5 tanks overnight or, you know, as needed, it's very, very handy and very, very useful.
I have a bucket of K1 and that's one thing that I think we forget to mention a lot. You know, Cheryl and Dan talk all the time about keeping cycled media. But we forget to mention that you've got to keep feeding it, you know, so you've got to keep dosing the ammonia.
You can't say it's cycled media. It's now clearing 2 parts per million of ammonia, and then you decide to ignore it for a month because guess
Right.
what? You've lost a lot of your bacteria. So
Yeah.
you have to, once you start it, you have to keep going with it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. I call them when I've got tanks like that, I call them my rock tanks.
Yep.
Because I've got all kinds of filter media in there that I'm keeping cycled. And basically, they're a big rock in the middle of the room that I really is really ugly.
So, and a lot of people do use like the idea of just putting a sponge or a filter or whatever in their current sump or tank. And then if there's an emergency and they need to quickly cycle a tank, they use that. And it works some of the time. And I think the reason is that, what do you think, Chris?
No, definitely. I'm a big advocate for, setting up additional filters in tanks or whatever, and then having, an extra sponge or whatever to swap over to another tank as needed for an emergency hospital tank or whatever, or just a new tank setup that you want to get going. When you set up a fish room like Heather's got there, and you start getting more tanks and whatnot, having additional filters on hand like that is so handy to be able to instantly set up a tank and have it fully filtered, even if you've got a brand new filter with the tank or whatever, but throwing that additional already pre-cycled sponge or whatever in, it makes a world of difference, and it makes things so much eeasier.
Easier, right.
My-
It's
my
not a
biggest-
for sure, but it's easier. Go ahead,
My
Cheryl.
biggest complaint with the sponge filters, I don't know what they're like in Australia or Tasmania, but typically the ones we get here, if you have them in a tank for very long, they're going to be rusting on the bottom,
Or clogged or whatever, yeah.
and it drives me nuts. I mean, the only way to correct it is to basically silicone the entire bottom of the sponge filter and use them that way. Otherwise, they're leaching crap into your water.
Right. Well, in my 90, I kept the marine pure balls in there. They weren't even filtration for the tank. They were for in case I could toss them in another. But Chris, final question for you. Not final, but a question for you. Do you guys not use any? So you don't use any bottle bacteria?
No, you can get it down here, but it's very hard to come across. We don't actually have all that many aquarium stores down here in Tasmania, so we're very limited in what we've got. But like a lot of the bottle bacteria and that don't really have great shelf life either. So just having a whole bunch of pre-cycled bacteria, pre-cycled media and whatnot is just easier than relying on bacteria in a bottle.
Right. No, that makes sense. I mean, you've got the media ready. It just for us average hobbyists, I think it's sometimes about if you have a tank crash of some sort. You know what I mean? Not just resetting up a tank, and with a tank crash and you got fish in there. I mean, it still would work the same. I don't know. Just
I wouldn't. If you've got a tank that's crashing, I would move them into a brand new tank with fresh salt mixed. Cross my fingers and get ready for some close to 100% water changes, because the bacteria, no matter how good it is not going to kick in fast enough to save those fish.
Right. Yeah. And in my situation, again, I just wasn't doing big enough water changes. Everything's good now, but I am going to tell you guys, any questions from the audience? Dylan, I see yours. I'm going to ask them. I'm trying to shorten this one Wednesday. I swear we could talk all night. But I'm going to give it like 10 more minutes. So we're going to ask Chris if he has anything to share. And before we do any of that, Heather, I keep getting requests in the audience asking, please, will you come back and tell us with updates on Wine Wednesday when you have time?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yep.
You are invited back any week.
Sea shed.
Yes.
All right.
We're all jealous, and I mean, bottom line is, anytime you want to jump in, you've got the number to jump in. But when you do updates, we definitely will make you a guest, so that it's specific to you, because this was awesome, and everyone's jealous. It's awesome.
Well, thank
Okay.
you for having me on. I appreciate it.
I asked her earlier on Facebook. I said, "Is that the one you're sending to me?" She didn't respond. I thought,
No. You got to get an electrician and a lovely fiance.
I can do the electrical. I can do the electrical. My problem is I'm not real good at digging ditches to bury the lines.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, and just, I mean, she's got that. That's amazing. Like the trough and the dehumidifying aspects. That's just
Yeah.
freaking cool. And I can't wait to see as you progress. I just wanted to bring it back there real quick. But
Yeah.
Dylan
Hey,
wanted to
Chris.
update. Sorry. Go ahead, Cheryl.
You don't happen to know where there's any large hippocampus combs that are in good shape, do you? Tiger
me?
tails?
I think she was talking to Chris.
Yeah.
Oh.
And Chris probably can't tell you live
What was
even
that
if
one,
he
sorry?
knew. But
You don't happen to know anybody that's got any nice, large size, in good condition hippocampus combs, tiger tails?
No, we don't have any here in Australia.
Yeah, I was afraid of that.
why are you looking
Doesn't
for more?
Alyssa have tiger tails?
Yeah.
I thought Alyssa had tiger tails. Doesn't she?
Well, I'm sorry?
Doesn't Alyssa have tiger tails right now?
She is working on breeding them. She
Oh.
is in the process of possibly bringing in some. However, they're going to be extremely small.
Oh, okay.
And I've raised them before, and I know what I'm going up against.
Yeah. They're real slow growers, right?
I'm sorry?
They grow real slow, right?
They grow much slower than like Erectus.
Mm.
They're more similar to reed-eye and some of the other species. They grow faster than Indians, but they're definitely not an easy seahorse to work with.
Do you have any babies yet, Cheryl, from your yellow and oranges?
No, but they're hooking tails. And one male's pouch is huge. He looks very pregnant, but I know better because she's still fat.
Yep. I put that in one of my very first videos, and I don't think, many people realized it, but I was like, yeah, I can tell if there's been an egg exchange because this is the only time your seahorse's stomach should be caved in. If it's a female and she's just given eggs, they give away 30% of their freaking body, literally. So,
Well, the thing is, if you look at a truly heavily gravid female from the back, she looks like a football.
yeah.
And after she passes those eggs, she doesn't immediately shrink, but you can see a huge change in her the circumference of her torso. They look very, very different. And so they are definitely working on it. The only problem is there's a couple males that are really interested in her, and she's still young enough. She's a little confused who she wants to pick.
Gotcha.
But they'll figure it out.
Okay, all right. Sorry, go ahead.
All my tubs and everything, and completely scrubbed them. And I'm now in the process of cycling everything, my nursery tubs and everything again. So it's like, hold off, don't do it yet. I'm not ready.
See, Cheryl, I keep saying when you set up these tubs, I know you're doing the article, and I think that's awesome, but you should have, somebody videotape it, and we should, get it on Wine Wednesday. You should set up a tub on Wine Wednesday.
Well, the thing is, I finally got the new tubs a few days ago from Pet Air. So now I can go through the whole process since I have new tubs in terms of drilling them, how to measure them, how to set the bulkheads, and the whole yards. Now I've got everything I need to be able to do it from square run through the door to the finished product.
Well, I think you guys heard her. She said she's going to be the big guest next week, right? No, I'm just kidding.
That's
kidding.
What I heard.
That's what I heard.
Pressure now.
Okay, real quick, guys. I want to ask Dylan's question. He gave us an update in case you weren't here a few weeks ago. He's had cyano all over. He's been using vibrance by pulling rock, soaking in vibrance and different methods, and he really feels like it's working. The vibrant dose was, Between the vibrant dosing and a 2-day blackout, it's almost gone for good. But the male is not active and the female is more active after these blackouts. She eats more and he is now eating less, and they're completely swapped personalities. So I think this goes back to Cheryl's lighting theories because, yeah. Anyways, how big of a water change do you do? I do a 20% water change once a week with little problems other than algae and cyano. So I think I just wanted to read his comments, but I think the real question is, he's had a problem with cyano. I'm having problems with algae on plants and on the bottom of the tank and stuff. And I think it's a water change schedule issue. What you guys told me a few weeks ago really made me think I'm so used to having bigger tanks where I can do 25% or whatever. And it's just not the same in a smaller tank. You've got to do a huger water change. What are your thoughts?
But it depends on your stocking density. If I have one seahorse in a 58, I'm not going to worry a whole lot about doing a lot of big water changes. If I have 30 3 to 4 inch juveniles in a tank, I'm going to be changing water probably at least once a day.
Holy crap, I can't do that. Cut me out. But no, let's pretend we're talking 3 seahorses in a 40. Let's just say that. What would your water change schedule be, Holly?
I probably do a 25% water change weekly.
I do
unless,
a third of the volume in the tank.
I got nuisance algae.
Okay. Now, and one question Holly, what did you say? I'm sorry.
I said both my tanks, I do a third of the volume, which for me, I'm like Heather, it's 20 to 25 gallons every week.
See, I was trying to be lazy. I admit it. I was trying to be like, well, it's only supposed to be like 10 to 15%, right? But, Chris, once you have, go ahead,
Kelly,
Cheryl.
that you have to look at what is the filtration on the system, too.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys
Because
go back.
That makes a huge difference in terms of how often you need to make a water change.
Go back and watch the week before and the week before because we talked all about this. But Chris, in a smaller tank, once you have nuisance algae, could more water changes be feeding the nuisance algae?
What kind of algae?
I said Chris. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Oh boy, Chris, you're on.
No, I was kidding. But no, Cheryl, I just noticed that people with smaller tanks seem to have nuisance algae problems, and I set out to prove that I could do it without any problems, and I'm not doing so well. But Dylan had a problem with cyano. I personally have to clean the plants weekly when I do water changes. Maybe that's normal. I'm just not used to having to do with that because I'm not used to having to do that because I had bigger tanks. So I guess my only question, go ahead.
Why do you have algae? Because you've got an excess of nutrients.
Right, which is a problem.
One way, but it doesn't eliminate the problem because you've still got the nuisance algae. My attitude is let the algae grow, slowly clean it out over time, and the tank will fix itself. And Chris, you can.
No, Cheryl, I've always
that, but
no. I've always agreed with you. I've always agreed with that sentiment. My whole goal in this project is figuring out smaller tanks, and I think with smaller tanks, it's a different situation. So in a smaller tank, Chris, do you think, because I've always said that too. In a big tank like my 65, you got to go through the algae cycle. There's an algae cycle in addition to the nitrogen cycle. Go through it and you're good. Or keep everything extra super clean like Heather does, and then you never go through any of that algae cycle. You just keep it freaking clean. But in a smaller tank, I don't think you can do either. I think you got to do massive water changes and have a killer skimmer. So Chris, my question again was, if you've already got an algae problem, whether it be algae or bacteria like cyano, it is doing more water changes feeding that algae or cyano, or are you fixing the problem?
Well, I think it would depend on a couple of factors. Like, I think one of the factors depends on what kind of algae you've got.
Right.
I think if it's like a photosynthetic algae, you should be looking at your photo period, how long your lights are running on your tank and what sort of intensity your lights are. Maybe you've got a much smaller tank and you might have the same type of light running on two different tanks, but your bigger tank is taller, and so the light's having trouble sort of penetrating, down to the very bottom with the same sort of intensity. Whereas, in a much smaller, shallower tank, that light might be getting much better penetration and it's sort of, illuminating the tank a lot better, and that's probably really, really fueling your algae. But with stuff like cyano and others like that, it's not necessarily the light that's doing it. So water changes would probably be, like more frequent and more sort of volume-wise, higher percentage water changes would hopefully bring that into check. As well as possibly starting to feed less. So if you can look at maybe feeding, like target feeding, or feeding a bit more efficiently and making sure that you siphon any excess food out, make sure that you're not really sort of fueling it, as well as, maybe just check on your protein skimmer, maybe give that a clean out if it needs to, if it's not running it all that efficiently. I think if you take a multi sort of tiered approach and you look at things like your photo period and your light and its intensity and everything, if it's a photosynthetic algae, or maybe look at doing additional water changes, look at any waste that's possibly feeding the algae problem, by siphoning any uneaten food or even seahorse poop. Siphoning your seahorse poop more frequently. This is one of the reasons why I prefer bare bottom tanks, because you can actually remove the source of these sorts of issues. So you don't have, seahorse poop or uneaten food that's getting buried in the substrate and just sort of, feeding this sort of problem. But if the nuisance algae is causing you headaches and, you think your tank looks horrible and it's stressing you out, maybe just look at your maintenance and your cleaning routine, and maybe up your cleaning regimen and, scrub the glass or scrub, bits and pieces of the tank more frequently. So, if you're doing it, say you're cleaning your tank, say once every 2 weeks, but you're, doing water changes once a week, maybe start cleaning the tank once a week, or maybe even twice a week, and then try and up the water changes a little bit more, and you might find it might all change.
Great answers, and hang on, Holly, I'll let you talk, I promise, but such great answers. Salty Reef said, great idea too. And I forgot to mention, we did discuss lighting and all those, everything, the feeding, because I wasn't rinsing the food properly and all this stuff that I know better, but I was just trying to be lazy.
Kelly, you
What?
have sand in that tank.
Right, and I wanted to say that too, because after seeing Heather's tanks and talking today, and talking to Dylan and stuff, I'm not sure that every single one of my bigger tanks has no sand, and I appreciate everything you just said about why that's important, but I kind of feel like in a smaller tank, you kind of want to have sand for the beneficial parts. Like, I feel like
a smaller tank, it's like my nurseries.
not nurseries. That's different.
There is no sand anywhere, because
Right.
I can see what is collecting in that tank, and I can remove it sometimes 2 or 3 times a day to make sure they stay pristine and I don't have any accumulation of feces or food. Versus if there was sand in there, I'd never see it.
I totally get it. But you're absolutely right if you're talking about a fry or, whatever tank. But I'm saying, like, if my whole goal in this project was to set up a tank and say, here's how you keep 2 seahorses in a small tank, because that's what people want to do. They don't want to have to spend a fortune on a huge tank and all the, sump and all that. And that was my whole goal. And it's just proving to be harder than I thought. But I think more water changes would help. And I'm thinking about testing it. We'll see, you guys, but I'm thinking maybe the beneficial parts of the keeping sand in an aquarium might be better in a smaller tank. Because I understand your points, but there's just not much to hold hold the good bacteria. And even with K1 in the back, it's just such a, I don't know. We'll see. I'll quit rambling. Sorry.
Well,
But
So I was
thing is,
going to
you
say
don't
on
have
the
to stump on
lighting,
that
that's
either.
an example of the huge difference it makes. So I have two good sized tanks. I have my grow out tank, which is about 75 gallons, and I use natural daylight on that.
yep.
Never have an algae problem at all
Yep.
in that tank. Now, in my display tank, you guys might remember I was having a problem with lighting. My light was going out, ended up replacing the power cord. So I got the new power cord last week. The light's working again, but guess what? Ever since it's been working full bore, the algae exploded in that tank.
Yep.
In 1 week, I pulled out so much green hair algae today. So, I mean, I have to take the time to figure it out and reprogram it, but I've been too busy with work and stuff to deal with it. So today
Well, and that's
water day, so I was just pulling it out by the handful.
Pull it out, put it in an algae scrubber. That's one solution. Your phosphates are dry. That's
Yeah.
green hair algae. The other thing is, when I get green hair algae, it's been since I had my engine. So it's been a number of years since and I let it go for about 6, 8 months.
Uh-huh.
Finally went in, pulled out half the rock, cleaned them off, put them back in, gave it another week, went back in, cleaned out the rest of the rock, cleaned all the green hair algae off, never had another problem.
Yeah.
But it had enough time to basically exceed its carrying capacity.
No, I had like hardly any, and then within a week, boom.
Well, I've got two things to say really quickly. The first thing is Salty agrees with me. Salty Reef agrees with me. I'm not sure about what, but I'm going to take it and I'm going to announce it. And also, I think the lighting point was really important because I do know that I was running my lights too long on that tank too, even though I had them dimmed down. When you've got an artificial light, spectrum also matters.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to grow, I was trying to keep macros in there too. And I talked about this last week, I might just take the macros into the 65 because in a bare bottom Seahorse specified tank with mostly fake stuff, you don't need a light, period. And when you have a light on, you have to be really careful about the hours of operation and et cetera, because, my first tank was small and had a light, but it was covered in macros. Right now I've got 2 or 3 and they're just not important enough to grow the bad stuff that grows with lighting when you don't have anything eating it up, if that makes sense, in a really stupid way of saying it. And also, go ahead. Did someone have something to say? I'm sorry. I feel like someone's trying to talk. Maybe not. Well, I forgot my second thing. Obviously, it's getting too Wine Wednesday late. But yeah, I think that you're all right. I just we got to figure it out in each separate tank. Each separate tank is different.
I think you just nailed it right there with each separate tank, because I've got some tanks that are bare bottom, and they've got 12-inch Marineland submersible little bitty LED lights, one on a 58-gallon tank.
Mhm.
I've also got tanks that are the same size with brief breeder photons on there. Now those things will kick your, what, from here to there and back, and they're specifically designed to grow corals. And
Yeah, see, that's what I kind of have going on. I don't really need it because I don't have corals, but I have kind of those kind of creatures. I have the coralline algae, and I have, sponges growing in there, and all the other things that might like some of that light, but probably not as much as they're getting.
Well, and
Well,
that was the other thing I was going to say is that I buy cheap lights too when I can, for the record. I'm not about paying big bucks for a light for a Seahorse tank that doesn't really need it. But I bought one that I thought my first light on my first tank was a freshwater Fluval 24/7. on this tank with fewer macros, I bought some cheap light. I'll post it when I find the name because I don't know it. But I'm worried that the spectrum might be part of the problem. But coming back to the point, Heather, when you switch to the 150 that is going to be bigger, but you can reach the bottom, I want to know how that affects. I mean, I want to. Do you keep your light at any certain percentage, or is it just factory made?
Oh, it's just on and off. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I do have I have 2 little night lights I leave on in the shed at night when I go to bed, so everybody, when it's tuck in time, all the lights go out, and then I leave 2 little night lights on for them. And then they get ambient light coming through because there's a lot of windows here in the shed. They get that until usually about the evening. Then I'll turn on the main lights once the sun starts going down. So really, out in the shed, they get mostly sunlight, except for later in the evening.
And how long do you keep the actual light on? The lights on the tank?
Well, usually probably about 6 p.m. until sometimes I go to bed at like 2 a.m. Depends on my work schedule.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. And if I'm out here that long, then it'll be, or if I go to bed, I mean, really, they're kind of used to me putting them on and off whenever I want to, not when.
Yep.
Like, they're not really on a routine with it, but most of the time they just have the ambient light on, or, like the sunlight coming through the windows.
And I think that's good, and I think that's a good point because I have a really bad sleep schedule right now too. And at first I put my light on a schedule, but then I'd be like, well, I'm not asleep yet. I want the tank on and leave the light on for longer, or it's just messing it up. So I like that. If you're I think that's
remember when you're working with a saltwater tank also when you're talking lighting, just because your eye sees light in a particular way does not mean that's the par that's reaching different portions of the tank. And par can have a huge impact on algal growth, coral growth, and everything else. So you really need to either keep it really low and know that it's low, or take a look at it with a par meter.
Okay, you guys, listen, I'm cutting this off in 13 minutes and we just had Salty join. I can't go over 2 hours, dang it. I can't do it. But, Chris, what are you showing us?
I'm showing you that I definitely know a thing or two about algae in tanks.
I don't doubt you.
Yeah.
So what are you doing there?
I've been gone for a week, and the algae's really taken over. That's what happens when you don't put your tanks on timers, and if you just leave the light on for 24/7 for a week, out of control.
Hey, I can grow that.
Yeah, I can't imagine what mine would look like this week if I did that.
Okay, I will come to you last, Chris, just to ask if you had anything to report because I know we're jumping around. But Salty, I saw you. Oh, Salty's not connected yet. Chris, did you have anything else you wanted to chat about, or are you just? I think I asked you that to begin with, but
no, I'm just here to hang out this week.
Awesome.
I haven't got too much to report to because I haven't been at work in a week.
Okay, well, we're going to check back in with you soon. And Heather, we're going to check back in with you soon. But was there anything I didn't ask you that I should have asked about the sea shed?
No, not that I can think of.
When are you going to get fry?
What, Cheryl?
What's that?
Heather, when are you going to get fry?
Well, my next batch I'm sending to Kelly still.
Well,
I have a batch I promised for her, but the way JoJo's been, I think he'll have another one soon after Kelly's batch. So.
Well, I am excited and really want to try with Frey again, but I'm more interested in seeing you succeed and the sea shed succeed. So we'll talk on the side, but I mean, I want them, of course, if you're too busy, but I'm excited that, like, I could never do what you've done. That's the thing. I think what you've done is amazing, and that you have this literal home outside for seahorses. Man.
Chris has his whole house looking like this.
Chris, what is up with your actual personal tank? Nothing yet?
No. I've got that one that's like covered in algae at the moment. I've got this one here, which is a little bit dry for my liking. It doesn't have any water in it, but
oh, I didn't make it big fast enough.
There's going to be someone coming here very soon, hopefully, who will light a fire under my bum and get some stuff happening with that tank. So
the new girlfriend?
Yeah, hopefully it won't be too long and I'll get it up and going. But I'm intentionally leaving it until she gets here to start it, because I'm going to be teaching her all about everything from the ground up. So I want to take her through setting a tank up and how everything works and cycling and all that from scratch. And I think it'll be a really good learning exercise for her.
And I'm thinking we all want to meet her anyway, so you guys might as well do that on Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
I'm always trying to plug it. I'm always trying to get you guys to share here. But no, we invite her always, and you always. And we're excited to see what does happen at work, but I get that you're on a slow down period. So I think seeing you guys set up the tank will be cool. So even if you can't share here, make sure I know so I can reshare.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. Okay, Salty, you've got like 9 minutes while we sit here and chat. Salty, you here?
Salty's muted.
I think he was trying to join and I didn't see it. So he might not even really be here. But I wanted to give it a couple of minutes while we chat just to see, because I think he wanted to share about lighting. But I don't know. Do we have any other questions or comments or thoughts?
Do you know anybody, Chris, that has any hippocampus barbery?
She's going to keep hitting you up.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Because I know some people that are looking for some. But most of what we're seeing, I mean, basically, most of what
you're looking for them in the US, yeah?
Yeah.
You want them in the US.
I missed that.
You want them in the US, right?
They're well, supposedly Ocean Rider has some, but they don't look like any Barbary I've ever seen. The snout is all wrong. The markings are wrong. The body structure is completely wrong.
Yeah,
I don't know what
so
they are.
we're breeding them and selling them, but we're not shipping to the US at the moment. So if you know someone who will take them in a different country and then ship them to you from there, that might be a go. But you might be able to get them shipped to Canada and get them shipped to the US possibly. I'm not sure.
Chris, I'm going to hit you up on the side about that. Is it still just because US has screwed you guys, or so how could is it a forever thing, or
I don't know. I'm not the one who ships them, so
right.
But it is for the time being, at least, until something changes.
And anybody wonder why we can't get different species of seahorses into the U.S.? U.S. Fish and Wildlife
sucks. Yeah.
Yep. Yes,
sure.
I do.
And I hate hearing that, but.
And if they're watching, they suck.
Right. You suck. I'm saying it publicly. You suck. I mean, I understand protection and conservation, and I'm with all of that stuff. But what they're doing isn't doing any of those things. You know,
No.
They're just boo. And we're missing out on projects that everybody could be expanding and working with other countries. It makes me sick.
Well, look at what Alicia's gone through just to get some
right
decent sized reed-eye. They live in this area. Well, not in this specific area, but very close. Why?
Does she currently have reed-eye?
Huh?
For sale? Does she currently have reed-eye for sale?
I think she has hybrids for sale right now.
Hybrids? Okay.
But I know she's got some reed-eye that are coming along that are really looking nice.
Well, and when we say Alyssa, folks, we're talking about Seahorse Savvy. And my hybrids and a pair of my reed-eye were from her, and they're fantastic. I mean, they really are gorgeous. So I'm happy to hear that she's getting it back into production. But it's just a shame that we'll never have like the whitey eye and the sublingatus and any of the really cool species, because we don't have zillionaires willing to pay for repair like the zebras. And now Australia can't even ship to us because of our fish and wildlife. It just sucks. But
I mean, it's possible, but there would have to be a workaround. Like I'm pretty sure we shipped to Canada fairly recently, like a few months ago. So we're still shipping to North America technically. You almost need to organize someone in Canada to take whatever it is that we shipped and then on ship it. But then you've got issues with, the seahorses or whatever being in transit for longer. Or you'd almost need them to, have the facilities there ready to take them, get them set up, make sure they settle in okay, and then sometime down the road, on ship them to you guys there in the US.
Well, I know somebody in Canada
in
got some
private
barbs
if
and some
you
pots.
do a pilot, can they come in that way?
Many
Like
years.
if somebody's a pilot, can they bring them in that way? Not through a
Well,
shipping?
no, they will still have to go through the US customs and everything. So they still have to go through Fish and Wildlife, and you might have the exact same problems that we had.
Gotcha.
well, it sucks. So I just hope that Alyssa keeps. I mean, because I know Alyssa and people like Dan have connections. They can't get the seahorses like from Chris, but they're at least getting in Reed Eye and stuff. I hope they keep going. I hope people like Holly and Heather and Cheryl continue doing local breeding and, providing seahorses for the captive bred market, the aquarists. And yeah, I hope things change soon. But
Kelly, it's gotten so tough right now. I have some friends that own a local fish store, and they have not even seen any seahorses on for sale from the wholesalers. And they're
Right.
I'm talking people that are going after wild cards. They can't
right.
even. It's
I haven't
gotten really
checked
tight.
around here at all. I still have my 8 available, but I won't ship right now.
Right, because of the heat, the fires,
rain.
everything. Yeah, of course.
Well, you got all your seahorses named, darn it. How can you sell
No,
them?
not those 8.
They're
Those
not
8
dogs. They don't come to the name. Come on. You can rename them. But
There's
my
one I call Princess. She's my big one that likes to stay white all the time.
when I go in the fish room, all my seahorses come to the front and start dancing back and forth. They're trying to tell me they're starving to death.
of course, they're always starving. Okay, so we could talk all night, guys, and I'm so excited when Chris joins and someone extra special guest like Heather joins, but it's been going 2 hours, so I'm gonna call it. Again, Heather, we thank you so much for coming and sharing this. I can't even say it. Sharing the sea shed.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate
And
it.
we want you to come back. You can jump in anytime you want just to chat, or, definitely let me know when you have updates and we can share some more, because what you're doing is awesome.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Salty
Thank
Reef,
you.
I'm sorry I tried to wait, but you didn't talk. So everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Hello.
Hello. Cheers.
Cheers.